Bob?
Okay, kid.
All right, we're going to talk about World War II and your service. So I think we should probably start off with your name and where you were born.
Okay, I'm Marty J. Klett, and I was born in Queens Village, New York, with a twin brother.
And what year was that?
That was April the 18th, 1927.
Very good. And where do you live now?
Right now, I'm living in Florida, where am I? Well, anyway, I'm in Florida, but I spent most of my life in New Hyde Park, Long Island.
Right. And so how old were you when you joined the Navy, and why did you join the Navy?
Well, it just so happens the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and that was in 1941. I was kind of young then, but when I turned 17, we were very patriotic in those days, and both my brother and I joined the Navy when we were 17 years old. And that's how I ended up in the service. Actually, we went to join the Marines so we could kill those Japs, but we ended up in the Navy.
There you go. Very good. And why did you pick the Navy?
Because that was open. That's the only thing that we could get into the service right away.
So you wanted to go right away?
Oh yeah,
okay.
We wanted to beat them Japs.
All right. So once you enlisted, what happened then? So you went and enlisted, and
well, when we went in the service, because I was with my twin brother, we went together. So we went to boot camp together. And because we had the same names, we were practically in the same bunk all the time. We went to Sampson for boot camp, and then from there, we went to Detroit to electrical school. Same thing. He's in one bunk, I'm in one below him or above him. And then when we got out of there, we went to go on our ships, but they wouldn't put us on the same one because of the Sullivan brothers. So he went on the Jack Wilkie, and I went on the USS Oswald.
And so once you got on your ship, what did you do on the ship, like on a day-to-day basis? What was your jobs?
Well, when we got out of Detroit, that was an electrical school, so I was an Electricians Mate, and our watch was propulsion to drive the ship, and that was we were both electricians. He went on the other ship, and that was the end of the list I saw with him. I slept in the same bed for 17 years, so I finally got my own bunk.
That's great. And so each day, as far as when you check propulsion, what did that involve?
Well, you do how fast the ship goes.
Okay.
There's a wheel. You go so many RPMs, and you get the thing from the bridge to beep you. So they want so much, you give them that, you beep them back, and that was it. But the thing is, you were on like 4 hours, and then laid off for 12. And that went on every day in a week,
Right. And so where did you go on the ship? Where did your ship travel to?
Well, I went on, we were on convoy duty, and we took a convoy across to Europe. We ended up in Portsmouth, England, and then we took a transport of nurses over to Europe. And then we went back that was it. We went back to England, Wales we went to, and then back to the U.S. But on the way back, VE came. And that was the end of the war in Europe.
Okay.
So then, instead of convoys, we operated with two different carriers. One was the USS Croton, and we went out of Quonset Point, Rhode Island, and we'd go out 3 DEs, I think it was, and we'd be around the carrier, and if any of them wanted to drink, we were supposed to pick them up. But I think the water was so cold, they says, hey, we better go down to Florida. So we used to pull out of Miami, and that was with a carrier, the USS Mission Bay. And we did the same thing. We'd go out for a couple of weeks, training these pilots, and we'd go back. But Miami was such a small inlet there, the carrier couldn't get in there. It used to go to Fort Lauderdale, but wouldn't meet them out in the ocean. So that's what we did until the war ended.
And so what happened when the war ended? What happened? Where'd your ship go? How did it get decommissioned? Where did it get decommissioned?
Well, when we went into Green Cove Springs, Florida, on the St. Johns River, and in there it was mostly all DEs that were in there. I think it's 600 or 700 ships, and there'd be tied 6 abreast in each different group. And to go on Liberty, we had to take a LCVP to shore any time you wanted to go on to Liberty.
Right. And so when did the war, what did you do after the war?
After the war, we got out on points, and from Green Cove Springs, we went on a train up to Lido Beach, Florida, and that's where we got discharged from. And that was the end of my career in the Navy, except that I signed up for the reserves. And then we took one trip down to Florida, believe it or not, on the USS Schneider. And that was the end of that. And then I was joined when I was in the telephone company for 35 years.
Excellent.
As a repairman.
And what would you have to say to future generations about the war and what your experience was? Any advice or any information else that you would want to share?
Well, I gotta say, when we joined the service, we knew who we were fighting, and that's a big thing. When I hit bombers, we knew who our enemy was and who we were fighting. It seems nowadays everybody's fighting all over the place, but nobody knows who the hell we're fighting.
Right. And is there any books that I know you're an avid reader and you've read a lot about World War II. What book was your favorite book on World War II that you would recommend to people to read?
Well, the one I thought was great was about DEs. It was in the Philippines, the last stand of the tin can sailors. It was where they got kind of screwed up, and they were fighting the whole Japanese Navy, battleships, cruisers, and everything else. And that was all it was 6 DEs and tin cans together. And they were supposed to be protecting the 6 CVEs who were protecting MacArthur invading the Philippines. And the book was pretty good, very accurate.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, what can I tell you? I guess that's about it. It's tough to remember when you get to be 90.
There you go. I think you did a great job. Thanks, Bob.